Hey guys, we are dealing with percentages again, and specifically we're going to be talking about interest today. So our I can statement is, I can compute simple interest. And if you don't know what that is, totally fine, we're going to be talking about it. So the warm-up question is, what is interest? Think about that for a second. What do you know about interest? Well, let's answer that question by reading all this down here. Interest is a fact of life in the modern world of finance. In other words, when we're talking about finance, we're talking about money. So in other words, money. Interest can be good or bad. It can work for you or it can work against you. So what is interest? Well, interest, and notice that they represent that with a capital I there. So interest is the amount of money paid for the privilege of borrowing money. Okay. It's awesome when the interest is paid to you, like when you put your money in the bank and you earn interest on it, or maybe you invest in the stock market and the stocks do well and you earn interest, or you make an investment, that kind of thing, and you earn interest. But it's not very fun when you have to pay the interest, and that's what happens when you maybe take out a loan to buy a car, or when you buy a house and you get a mortgage, you have to pay interest on it. Student loans also bear interest. The simplest type of interest that is called, not surprisingly, simple interest. And that is the only type that we're going to be talking about in 7th grade. There's more complicated types. We're not going to worry about them for a while, all right? So with simple interest, you are paid a set percentage for a set amount of time, and the interest is only paid at the end of that time. Okay, so the formula is as follows. The formula for simple interest is this. I equals P, and I'm going to use a capital P, I'll talk about that in a second, times R times T. Now, I didn't put any like dots or parentheses, I just put the letters next to each other because when we have those variables or those letters next to each other, right next to each other means multiplication. So basically what this means is interest equals P times R times T. Okay, so now let's talk about what some of these things mean. It says, let's understand some key terms. So principal is P. So in other words, when you see that P there, that's the principal. But what is the principal? Are we talking about like the principal of your school? Not in this case. The principal is the original amount borrowed or invested. So if you borrowed $10,000 for a car loan, the principal on that loan would be $10,000. Now what is the rate? Rate is short for percentage rate. Percentage rate. And it's always entered as a decimal. Okay, so on your $10,000 car loan that I was talking about just now, it might have a percentage rate of interest of like 5%. And that 5% would be entered into this equation as 0.05 as a decimal. That's just as an example. Okay, let's keep going. 2 questions. What do you think the T stands for? All right, so that P is the principal. Where did that go? Principal. The R is the rate. What is the T? The T is going to be for time. So like if your car loan was paid back over 5 years, you might put 5 for the time, something like that. Another question, why does this formula involve multiplication? Because you're always taking a percent of the principal, a percent of that original amount that's borrowed. And that word of, that means multiplication. So you have the of, so the percent of the principal, and then whatever that is, you have to multiply that by how many years or however many months or whatever unit of time you're talking about. So that's why it involves multiplication. Okay, let's do some examples. If you're feeling lost at all, don't worry, the examples will make it all better because all of these are going to be pretty much the same and they're going to be very similar to the problems that we've been doing in the last few days. Example 1. $1,000 is put in an account bearing simple interest of 8% per year for 50 years. Okay, well, we've got so many new words going here, so let's just slow down for a second. First of all, bearing simple interest, that's just the same thing as earning simple interest. It is earning simple interest in the amount of 8% per year, and it's doing it for 50 years. That's a long time. All right, so question A, how much interest is due at the end of the term? Okay, another new word, term, that's just kind of like the time. So in this question here, the end of the term would mean at the end of 50 years. Okay, so let's use our formula. Remember, our formula is I equals PRT. Okay, so let's see if we can fill some of this in. Now the I is the interest. So we don't know how much interest it's going to earn. In fact, that's what we're trying to figure out. It says how much interest. So we'll leave the I there and we'll fill in some of the other elements here. So the P stands for the principal. Now remember that principal is the original amount. And what was the original amount here? It was $1,000. Okay, so we're going to write 1,000. Finally, we get a number in there. Sometimes it's a relief. In fact, let me make that look like an I a little bit better. Sorry. Sometimes it's a relief to ditch some of these letters and actually get real numbers in there, right? Okay, so we have I equals PRT. The P equals 1,000. The R, that's your percentage rate. So what was the percent here? 8%. Now when we take that 8% and move the decimal 2 places, we're going to get 0.08. Okay, now we need the time. So the time was 50 years, so I'll just put a 50 here. So what are we putting into our calculator? We're putting 1,000 times 0.08 times 50, and that's going to give us the amount of interest. Let's do that really quick. Okay, so 1,000 times 0.08 times the 50, and we're going to get 4,000. So 4,000 is the amount of money extra that they would have to pay you at the end of that 50 years because you earned it in all that interest. You invested your $1,000, you left it in there for a long time in an account that bore a pretty good interest rate, and now at the end of that 50 years you've earned $4,000 on that money. So how much interest is due at the end of the term? $4,000. All right, so now what is the amount of money in the account after the interest is paid? Okay, so this is just the interest. The total amount of money is going to be the principal plus the interest. You can think of it as P plus I if you want, or you can just take the original amount and add it to the amount that you've earned. So 1,000 plus 4,000, probably can do that in your heads, that's going to be $5,000. Okay, so that's the amount that's going to be in the account after the interest is paid. Let's keep going. So down here in this table, use the simple interest formula to complete the following table. What is the simple interest formula? Oh yeah, see I have it penciled in here so I don't forget to tell you guys this stuff. The simple interest formula is I equals PRT. P times R times T. So we're going to be looking at the table. You guys have done a bunch of these lately. You're always looking to see which element is missing, and you're going to fill in that one. So in this case, we don't know what the interest is. We don't know what the I is. So let's just write the I is equal to, and now we need the principal, the rate, and the time. Okay, the principal is $210, so I'll write 210 times the rate, which is 8%. Now we just computed 8% would be 0.08, so I'll just copy that down, 0.08, and then the time is 7 years. There we go. Time is 7 years. So let's multiply these all together to figure out our interest. Interest is going to equal 210 times 0.08 times 7. Make sure I entered that correctly. It looks good. 117.6. Now, when you just have one decimal point, it doesn't look like money. You really need 2 decimal places, so we have our cents there. So you should write it as 117.60. This 0.6 is not 6 cents, it's 60 cents. All right, so this is our interest right here. Now, how are we going to figure out what goes in that total balance column? Well, in this column, you're going to do your principal plus your interest. So let's figure that out. We have the principal right here. We have the interest right here. You add them together. I already have that in my calculator, so I'll just use it and add the 210. You add them together and you get 327.60. All right, so this was, you don't have to write this, but just in case it helps, this was 117.60 plus the 210 equals this right here. Okay, so that's our first line in the table. Let's do the next row. It looks like this time we have the interest, great, but we don't know what the principal was. So we're gonna use the same formula, we're just gonna have a different thing we're solving for, okay? Still 8%, our time is a little bit different this time. Okay, so I equals PRT. Okay, the I, do we know what the I is? The interest is this. Yeah, we do. And this is our blank, so I'm going to write my equation in the blank. 3296 equals, okay, what's next? The principal. Okay, principal is what we don't know here, so I'm just going to leave it as a P. The R is the rate. We do know the rate. I'll write 0.08. Kind of looks better in parentheses, but however you want to indicate multiplication there is fine. And then multiply that all times T, which is 2. Okay, let's go ahead and simplify this, and then we'll keep solving. So 3296 equals P times, okay, 0.08 times 2 is what we're doing right now. 0.08 times 2. 0.16. So we went ahead and solved what 0.08 times 2 is, and we got 0.16. Now that that's done, you can divide by the 0.16 on both sides. So 3296 divided by 0.16, and that's going to equal 20,600. So 20600 equals the principal. So this is the amount of money you invested originally, and then you let it sit for 2 years at 8% interest, and this is the amount of interest you earned on it. It really does add up pretty fast. Of course, the trick is you have to have that 20,000 to begin with, right? Sometimes that's the hard part. So here's your principal. Now we need to figure out the total balance at the end of the 2 years. And remember, the total balance is the principal plus the interest. So let's add those together. It's going to be these first 2 columns here. So that plus that. Grab that handy calculator. 3296 plus 20600, and we're going to get 23,896. Alrighty, good. Let's do the next one. Okay, this time the bit of information that's missing is the interest rate. So we have the interest itself, we have the amount of the principal, and we have the term, we have the time. Either way, we know that it was left in there for 9 years. So let's start filling out our equation. Here's the equation, I equals PRT. So first, I equals, and the I was the 1,449 equals principal, which was 2,300. See, it says principal was this. So 2,300 times the rate. Rate is what we don't have, so I'll just write an R here. And then we need to multiply that by the time, which is 9. So we have 1,449 equals 2,300 times R times 9. Okay, so now you guys know that when you're multiplying, the order doesn't matter. You could do R times 2,300 times 9, or you could do 9 times 2,300 times R. Switch them around any way you want, it doesn't matter. What that means is we can go ahead and combine the 9 and the 2,300. Let's do that. So 9 times 2,300 equals 20,700. So I'm just going to bring down this number and say it equals 20,700 R. Okay, so I've just simplified here. I've multiplied that times that, and then the R has to stay in R. Okay, now we got to get the R by itself, and we're going to divide by 20,700 on both sides. So let's do that. 1,449 divided by 2,700, and I'm going to get 0.07. 0.07 equals R. Okay, are we done? Is this a good percentage rate? We're not done until we take the decimal and turn it into a percent. So let's move that decimal point. 1, 2, and so that's going to be 7%. So this is your rate right here. Okay, now that we have that, we've got to figure out your total balance. And let's see here. The balance is going to be the interest plus the principal, or the principal plus the interest, either way. So let's go ahead and do that. 1,449 plus 2,300, and that's going to equal 3,749. All right, and there we go. You guys, hang on one second. All right, sorry about that. Here I am back, and in the final row, we are missing the time. So you guessed it, we're going to use that same equation and figure out how to solve for t this time. So I is the interest. I'm going to write that first, 4204. I have a feeling I'm going to run out of room here. So I'm just going to write the 0.8 because I know I can drop that last decimal. If it's a 0, I can drop it anyways. So that is going to equal the principal, which is 43,800. 43800 times the percentage rate, which is 4.8. Let's move that decimal 2 places. So it's going to be 0.048. Whew, I just have enough room to write my t. So we're going to put the t right there. Okay, so now I need to solve for t. A good first step would be to take these two numbers, these two constants, and solve them. So to solve those, you're just going to multiply them together. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. 4204.8 equals, and now 43800 times 0.048, 2,102.4. So basically what we've just done is we've figured out 4.8% of the principal. That's what it would be if you left it in there 1 year. But we didn't leave it in there 1 year. We left it in more than 1 year, you can see, because the number here is bigger. I should write the t there, shouldn't I? So when we solve for t, that'll tell us how many years we left it in. So divide everything by 2102.4. Okay, so we have 42, let me get this where we can see it, 4204.8 divided by 2102.4. And it looks like we had a nice round number. It's a 2. 2 equals t, so it looks like the term was 2 years. Okay, cool. So now let's find our total balance by adding the interest plus the principal together. So 4204.8 plus 43800, you're going to get $48,004.80 for your total there. Okay, hope you're feeling good about that. Let's do one more example and then I'll kind of introduce you to your assignment. It says Mr. Bentley got a loan of $6,392 to fund a carnival for the students at Elkridge. The loan will bear simple interest of 3.95% annually. Annually means per year, just so you know. And must be paid back in 3.5 years. Okay, how much will he need to pay back? So when they say how much will he need to pay back, they're not talking about just the interest. They're talking about the total. So it would be like what's in this last column here for this whole thing that we did. It'd be that total balance. It's the amount that he borrowed originally plus the interest. Okay, so remember our formula is I equals PRT. So let's do this. Interest equals, we don't know what the interest is, so I'll leave it as an I. We do know the principal. It's that original amount he borrowed, 6,392. We do know the R. The R is the rate of 3.95. Make sure you move the decimal 2 places and you're going to get 0.0395. And then the time, the T, says 3.5 years. So let's see. If it just said 3, I'd put a 3 there, but it says 3.5, so I'm going to put 3.5. Okie doke. Let's do the math. All we have to do is multiply this all together and we'll get the interest. So let's do that. 6,392 times 0.0395 times 3.5. 883.69 is the interest. 883.69. Okay, $883.69 is the interest. So how much will he need to pay back? Remember, the total is going to be the principal plus the interest. So we've got to do this amount plus this amount. Okay, so let's do it. So I'm just going to do, let's see, 6,392 plus 883.69, and that is going to give me 7,275.69. So the total equals $7,275.69. And that's the amount he'll have to pay back. Okay, so that is how all of that works. Let's take a quick look at your assignment. On the first page, this is going to be exactly like what we were just doing in the notes, okay? The simple interest formula, I equals PRT. And then you're going to complete all this, but you don't have to do all of it. I'm asking you to do the first 8 problems, okay? If you want to skip 9 through 12, that's great. And then on this page, go ahead and do these 4 problems, 13 through 16. I wanted to talk about, let's see, this one, Maya and her savings account. This is the principal right here. Here's your interest. They want to know how much she'll have after 3 years and 6 months. Well, how long is 3 years and 6 months? Let's see, 6 months, that's half a year, right? So 3.5 is going to be the same thing as 3.5. So make sure you use that 3.5 for your T, for your time, okay? And if you have questions about any of this other stuff, you just let me know. I feel like there's a note here that was a little bit confusing. It says interest on CDs is actually compound interest. You don't need to know that. This is just like extra information, like real world info. You are definitely doing your normal simple interest on this problem. So you're just going to be doing your your I equals PRT. Okay, so nothing different here. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.